Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm gonna go straight into part 2 of reviewing my TradingView setup and basically in 2025 how I am changing the layout of my charts slightly, just a little bit, as well as I want to be going over some cool tips and tricks on efficient and quick shortcuts that you guys can most definitely use on a daily basis and implement today, starting today, into your trading so you can make faster, more efficient decisions and just have your charting as seamless as possible. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. I first want to really just go over my new charting. So back then I would just have one chart, right? Pull it up. For example, this is my futures watch list right now. I've ignored oil and your USD not being there. Recently, I've decided to focus more on ES and just gold just because of the amount of volatility. You guys can see there's insane volatility. This isn't a New York session, but when you see New York session, there's insane volatility. Every single candle is like double the size now. So, I'm taking advantage of that right now to just focus on ES mainly. But then later on, if there's volatility dies and goes back to normal, I'll probably add the other two pairs back, oil and Euro USD. But for now, ES and gold is what I'm sticking with. You guys know, regardless, the point is that back then I would have one chart like this, right? I would have the 1 minute, for example. And what I would do is, for those that don't know, is on TradingView, if you just start typing numbers, you can switch time frames, right? A lot of people know this, but some people don't know this, and they go up here, and it just takes too much effort, in my opinion, to go up here and click on the time frame. So if you just start typing a number on your keyboard, you can change time frames, right? So you can see I'm changing time frames right here. So this is for people that are interested. 1 hour, 4 hour, you can do this, right? A lot of people don't know that, or probably do know that, but some people don't know. There's a quick tip right there. Change your time frames. But yeah, back then what I'll do is I'll start my day, for example, I typically don't look at the daily when I start trading. And that's just because I have my daily bias indicator that does everything for me. That marks out previous day high and low, as well as the true day open, and gives me a accurate daily bias for the day, right, to trade. So in this case, based on the close of the previous candle, we're expecting bearish price delivery on this day, right? And you can see clearly we have very bearish price delivery for sure. So I mainly use that, honestly, for my daily time frame. So typically what I'll do is look at the 4 hour real quick, and typically what I see is on the 4 hour, if I don't see much on the 4 hour in terms of PYs, right, PYs up here on the 4 hour, I don't see too much else on the 4 hour. You can even look at 4 hour candle highs and lows if that's part of your strategy. For me, that's not part of my strategy, so I don't really care about that. And then I quickly go on the 1 hour and just cycle through essentially, right? And I can see 1 hour, I don't see too much really in terms of PYs. 30-minute, everything looks mitigated. There's one above right here, but that's a very big move, right? That's very far, and we have a PY right here on the 30-minute actually that we tapped into. So I'll probably mark something out like this, for example, and then I'll keep cycling down my time frames essentially like this. I see something in the 15-minute, 5-minute, and then eventually I go onto my entry time frame, and this is where I basically execute my trades, right, and find my entry model, which I've taught you guys within the course, so you don't need to worry about that. If you haven't seen that video, you definitely should though, but definitely make sure to finish the section 1 part of the course first before you jump into anything else. That way your learning is a smooth equity curve and not like all over the place. But yeah, back then I would just switch time frames, and that's cool and all, right? But I've noticed that it is actually more efficient and better for your learning in terms of screen time and experience to just see everything on one screen like this, right? So how you do this is you basically go on the top right, you have layout set up, and you can pick between how many charts you want to have open at once. For me, I just picked this layout here personally for three open charts, and I picked this second option right here, which puts everything right next to each other like this perfectly. And then I'll basically have a tab open for every asset that I trade and have that open up, the same exact setup, right? You can see 3 horizontal next to each other, and then what I will do is I'll have that for each asset, and then the last tab or whatever you want to call it, I'll just have just one full screen of whatever time frame I want, right? Usually the entry time frame. This is just if I want to see something more clear, or just want to go straight into just seeing a 1 minute after doing all my analysis. And this is also, for example, if you're on mobile, typically it's going to be very hard to see everything using a 3 layout setup on mobile. Trust me, I've tried doing it. It just doesn't work. You just can't see enough really of each panel. So for mobile users, you typically would not be doing this. But again, I would not recommend trading directly just through mobile. Of course, you try to preferably have a setup that you sit at on a computer or laptop. I don't care what it is, as long as it's like some sort of monitor type of thing, and not like a mobile phone where it's very tiny and it's hard to fit all 3 panels together. But anyway, what I have for my setup is I have the 1 minute in the middle, I have my 5 minute time frame on the left, and then on the right I have my 15 minute or higher time frame. And if you guys remember, I've made a video discussing the 3 time frame cycle and how that is important to use into your trading, and how I basically made a video simplifying how you guys can actually utilize the 3 time frame cycle to your advantage, right? That's basically what this is representing right here, the 3 minute or 3 time frame cycle. We have the 1 minute, which is the entry lower time frame. Then we have the 5 minute, which is my middle time frame or medium time frame, where I'm just looking for slimmer things. I am on the 1 minute. I'm not entering though on the 5 minute. I'm looking for more structure wise swing structure of the 5 minute, and where price is likely to draw. And then of course we have the higher time frame, HTF, which is the 15 minute or higher for me personally. Again, I'd rarely ever go on the daily myself, just because I have my daily bias indicator doing that for me. There's no need for me to waste my time there. 4 hour I'll look at real quick, just to see if there's any highs or lows. But again, I don't really look at highs and lows that well, honestly, in the 4 hour, just because these are huge candles, right? Remember, we're on the trading on the 1 minute, so the 4 hour does not have a major effect unless we're in a 4 hour POI. So what I'll do is just cycle through on the very right here on this chart. I'll just cycle through from 4 hour, 1 hour, 30 minute, and then 15 minute, and mark up any POIs nearby that I see, as well as potential structural points that I think is very important. And that's where I find my high time frame draw on liquidity, right? For example, my draw on liquidity earlier was here on the 15 minute, and that's where price eventually drew back into. And then you can see we tapped into some POC here, and we gone up, and we've gone up where we've gone up into a 30 minute POI, right? So having all these time frames, in my opinion, here is very helpful to just learn how to read the fractal nature of the market, because you're able to simultaneously see candles print and how they print and how they interact on different time frames. How the 15 minute interacts while the 1 minute is doing this. How the 1 minute is interacting with maybe a 5 minute POI, things like that, right? Instead of having to manually, flip between time frames on one chart, you can just see all 3 at one time. And this might take a while to get used to, just because I know it might be a little bit weird, because you essentially, instead of having like this, right, where you have the 1 minute from left to right, a lot of people read from left to right, right? Or most people read from left to right. Instead of having lowest time frame to highest time frame like this, I have my 1 minute in the middle. That's just personal preference. Do whatever you want with that, but I do prefer having 3 time frames or 3 charts. If you have 2, it looks kind of odd to me, just because if you're looking in the middle of your screen, right, you kind of have this divider in the middle and not necessarily your entry or chart, and you have to kind of tilt your head slightly or your eyes to look one way, right? So not the most ideal setup, and I prefer to just have 3 time frames as my time frame cycle. So there's that. And the reason why I put my 1 minute in the middle is so I don't need to tilt my eyes and look to the corner of my screen to see the important time frame. The most important time frame, in my opinion, is the 1 minute, because that's where I'm executing. So I want to have the most important time frame right dead in the center. So that's why I have the 1 minute in the middle, and then 5 minute on the left, and 15 minute on the right. You'll get used to it very fast, right? And essentially what I do is, let's say I'm done marking up my 15 minute, 30 minute, 1 hour, 4 hour PYs, draw on liquidity, right? What you can do also is just move this over here, and then have these 2 charts here, and then do whatever you want, right? Since you already have like everything marked up. So for example, one thing that I should mention is you want to have this thing on the left here clicked on. It should be blue. New drawings will sync and layout. You can do it globally if you understand what that means. If you don't understand what that means, just have a sync and layout. Layout is basically all these layouts that you have. I deleted all my previous layouts. Now I just have one layout here because I felt like it was just too redundant having so many layouts. If you know what that is, you know, but you don't have to necessarily dig deep into understanding what layouts are in TradingView. Just make sure you have this clicked and that's blue and sync them in layout. What this does is that it would make it so that if I'm drawing something on the 5-minute on the very left chart, it will also sync with the 1-minute chart here in the middle, as well as the right chart here, the third one, right? If I unclick this, for example, if I draw this POI again on the left chart, you can see it doesn't appear on my other two charts because these drawings are not synced to every single chart. It's treating every single chart as a different entity or an object. So you can see how I'm drawing this here on the 1 minute, but it's not appearing on the other two charts, right? So to fix that, you just want to click on that link right there, and it will now link everything together. And that's what you want it to do. So make sure you have that on. Another thing you want to do is you want to right click in any of these, right? Preferably you pick the, oh my gosh, I have 395 drawings. It's a lot. I have to probably clear that soon to help with memory. But yeah, you want to essentially find the chart that you have all your indicators that you're going to use. I mainly use my 4 indicators now: daily bias, kill zone, POI. And I have one more that I don't use as much, so I don't have that on my chart here. I don't want to have too much clutter, right? And what you do is you right click and click apply these indicators to entire layout. And what this does is essentially syncs your indicators to all 3 charts that you have in your layout currently on your screen. This way you don't have to manually add an indicator to each and every single chart, because you can see if I remove this PY indicator, for example, on this very left chart, you can see they're still here on the other 2 charts, right? It's not synced. So you want to right click and apply these indicators to entire layout, and that will apply all those indicators to the entire layout. So you don't have to manually add those one by one. Just a quick little tip to save you guys this little bit of time, you know? But yeah, so there's that right there. And let's see, what else should I need to go over? Let's see, shortcuts, right? Shortcuts. So for shortcuts on TradingView, basically a real quick thing is if you hold control on your keyboard, you can, that basically turns on this magnet tool right here, and you, whether you want it to have weak or strong is up to you. Typically I have it set on strong. That's an option right here. And if you hold control on your keyboard, by the way, this is for Windows. If you're on Mac, I'm not entirely sure what it equals, but this is for Windows. And if you want to know exactly, you click on the top left here, click on keyboard shortcuts, and this literally opens up all your shortcuts that you can use on your keyboard for every single tool, whatever you want to use, right? It literally shows everything here, all the information you need here. Me personally, I don't use a ton, so I don't really care about most things on there, but I'm going to show you guys what's, to me, has helped me or makes it most important to me. Holding control on your keyboard while hovering or moving around will control every single candle price point, so high or low, right? So let's say I want to draw like let's say I want to draw this low as my drawn liquidity, for example. Instead of having to manually get close to this low and draw it, all you do is click obviously the tool that you want, you hold control, and it magnetizes to that low. And then once you click, you can let go. And if you want to draw a straight line, all you do is hold shift, and boom, it automatically makes it 45 degrees in each direction, right? So then you can have a straight line, and then you can let go, and then you obviously apply whatever you want your template to be, right? Just through this. That's all you got to do. And for these templates, like the boxes and everything, this is all covered in part 1 of my TradingView setup. So if you guys haven't seen that video already, definitely make sure to check that video out. It goes over all my colors, all my settings for my position and drawing tool, background color, everything. So yeah. But yeah, that's basically how you can magnetize automatically holding control. And then if you hold shift, it helps you align things so you don't have to make it very perfect yourself. Now another thing is if you click shift on your keyboard, and you click somewhere on the chart by left clicking, you can just immediately activate the measuring tool, which I find useful, right? And it even says here, shift plus click on the chart. If you hover over, you can basically use the measuring tool. And I find this useful when I want to just look around and see how volatile price is, because it's very hard to tell like how volatile price is just by looking at the candles without any type of measurement data. So sometimes if I want to see how big of a move is, I'll just quickly do the left click and shift, and I immediately will get this measuring tool instead of having to manually go here and click on it, right? It's a lot quicker to just shift and click. So that's another thing that you guys can quickly, learn. Another very important tip and trick is if you want to copy something, instead of clicking on this, let's say I want to copy this PY here. In fact, you can see this PY is working very well right now on this trade actually. I do believe we took out inducement here, but we are reaching towards OB right here, right now. But that's not the point of this video. Anyway, if I want to copy this PY right here that I drew, or any object I draw, whether it's high or low, instead of having to click on it and Control C, Control V, like how you typically do in most things, all you have to do is just click Control and drag, and then let go. Once you let go, you have a duplicate of that item, and you already moved it to where you are. So instead of wasting time doing this, you could just immediately do it just by holding Control down on your keyboard and letting go. And that's basically how you are able to clone things very quickly, right? For example, let's say I want to, clone this. All I can do is that, boom, instantly clone and moved. So it does basically 2 actions in one, right? If I want to take this low, put it somewhere else, right? Boom, hold Control and click, and then you can move it wherever you want. And then last but not least, a lot of people probably know this, but if you just hold Control and highlight over an area, you can select multiple objects. You can customize them if they're very similar in style, or you can delete all of them at one time, doing that as well. And we just reacted off that OB perfectly right there, going down. So anyway, that's basically everything I wanted to really just cover in this video in terms of layout. Let me know if I'm missing anything, but from this video, I'm pretty certain I've covered everything here. So again, this is just part 2 of my TradingView setup, and why I recommend you guys to have these 3 time frames out, just to help your brain learn and notice things. Maybe you might notice a pattern on the 5-minute, or something, build some context on the 5-minute that you didn't see before just because you were too stuck up on the 1-minute, for example. One more thing I did want to mention, right? In terms of importance, always start on the higher time frame, right? But once I finish my higher time frame analysis, like once I finish my 4-hour, 1 hour, 30-minute, 15-minute cycle, and drawing whatever I need on those time frames, I don't really tend to look at the 15-minute or higher, my high time frame cycle, as much. And the main reason is because the higher time frame takes much longer to develop candles. So you guys should know how to read candles and how time works with each candle, right? If it's a 15-minute time frame, one candle, it takes 15 minutes to develop. Therefore, that means PYs, OBs, liquidity, swing highs and lows take much longer to develop, basically on the higher time frames. And therefore, I'm not going to be needing the higher time frame as much intraday once I have it marked out and ready, right? It'll take much longer to develop. Like for example, a 4-hour OB, you guys know, or PY, whatever you want to call it, is a set of 3 candles at least. And if it's the full hour, if this is a 4-hour OB or PY, it requires 3 4-hour candles to make that. And 3 or 4-hour candles takes 12 hours of time to wait for it. I'm not going to obviously need that at all intraday, right? My trading sessions are not 12 hours long anyway, so I'm not going to need that and wait for that to develop anyway during the day. It doesn't matter to me at all. Same with a 1 hour. 1 hour PY will take 3 hours minimum to develop, and that's not factoring in time for price to come back to the PY as well, which takes time, right? So things like that you want to keep in mind. Like a 15-minute is obviously the most or third most relevant time frame for me for my trading, just because 15 minutes is much closer in terms of time alignment than like something like the 4-hour, 1 hour. So just certain things you definitely want to keep in mind while you're trading understanding how time and how each time frame works well with your trading, right? For me, again, 1 minute, what I teach in my strategy is 1 minute is the most important time frame. I spend the most time on the 1 minute. And then next up, the second most important is the 5 minute, and third most important is the 15 minute. You don't even need the 1 hour, 4 hour, 30 minute daily to be profitable. You could literally just use these 3 time frames and cycle through them. But the reason why I still look at the 1 hour, 4 hour, and 30 minute is because sometimes you might notice certain PYs on there that don't exist on the 15 minute, or they're not clear on the 15 minute, right? That's why we cycle through time frames, because if price is not clear on the 1 minute, I'll cycle to the 5 minute. If price is not clear on the 5 minute, I'll go to the higher time frame. Right? We cycle through time frames to find the best context we can make in terms of price, where it's likely to go. And if one time frame is not clear, or one time frame is very choppy, like if I'm staying on a 1 minute and just looking at this right here, it looks very choppy until I go on the 15 minute and zoom out, and I'm able to see, okay, we just tapped into, let's see, we almost tapped into this PY. We didn't quite on the 15 minute, right? But you can see structure much clearer on the 15 minute here than this mess of consolidation on the 1 minute, which can mess up a lot of traders. Like, this is where a lot of people will probably tilt and get wrecked in the consolidation like this, because what I see a lot of traders do is they long here, short here, long here, short here. They get stopped out in all these trades, right? All these little wicks are stopping them out. Like all these trades here, you probably take 3 to 4 losses just trading this 20-minute consolidation here, when you can just be patient and wait for a better setup or better structure to develop on the higher time frame, or just wait for a higher time frame PY to set up and take a trade off there, instead of just straight consolidation on the 1 minute, right? So again, hope you guys did enjoy this video. Basically me going over, in terms of time frame importance. Like I said again, I spend the most time on the 1 minute only after I've looked at the other 2 time frames, right? And I find the 5 minute obviously pretty important as well, in my opinion. I would say second to the 1 minute. And if you're asking about seconds, I do have the 15 seconds, 5 seconds on here, but I don't really use them anymore, just because I found my trading to just be cleaner off just staying on the 1 minute. There's no major improvement using the seconds. Yes, I can have better precise entries, but there's also things like executing on prop firms where they don't have the seconds chart necessarily at times, and it just gets a lot complicated, especially if you're copy trading multiple accounts and some are executed off the seconds, right? I just prefer to just keep everything more standardized now. So 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute really is the code, right? That's basically my 3 time frame cycle. Basically explain to you guys here. If you guys have any questions about how I use this, let me know. Unless I'm missing anything, I will probably comment and tell my Discord members. But yeah, remember, the Discord server is free, right? Discord server is free, but the paid chat is not free. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know what type of videos you guys want me to make next.